Be'ezrat Hashem. All right. So we are Perek Tet Vav, Pasuk Yud Chet. Ish Hema, an angry man, sparks Madon, sparks a quarrel, a fight. Erech Hapayim Yashkit Riv. But somebody that is Erech Hapayim, that is patient, he can calm anger. Says the Gaon the following. There's a difference between Madon and a Riv. Both of them mean fight, but it's different parts of the fight. Riv is the beginning of a fight, the inception. Yes, Riv is the beginning, the inception, the starting of a fight. Usually, says the Gaon, how does someone starts a fight, picks a fight? Because he has a very judgmental mind. And by being judgmental, that leads him to think and bring up all the memories of the wrongdoings that that person did to him. Although he might have forgotten completely what the guy did to him in the past, but by being judgmental, that approach will bring out all those memories and motivate the person to engage in a fight. Mechila, that's the word madon. Mechila, that's madon. That's ish hema yigare madon. An angry person will spark a fight. That's the word madon. Riv at the erech hapaim, ken yashkit riv. Riv is already in the midst, in the heat of the fight, of the quarrel. Says Shlomo HaMelech, somebody that is patient, somebody that is arech hapayim, he can diffuse the anger of a fight, even in the middle of a fight. So here Shlomo HaMelech introduces the impact and the influence of somebody that is judgmental versus someone that is patient. And it's very interesting how he compares the two. Somebody that's judgmental by default sets himself up for machloket, sets himself up for a fight, sets himself up for hate. And the flip side is somebody that works on his patience and that lets go. Erech hapayim, he waits. He's not quick to judge and he's not quick to react. Not only does he have the ability and the control not to spark a fight, but he also has the control and the wisdom to know how to untie the knots of a fight and stop a fight in its hottest moment. So what we can learn from this pasuk is that to be erech hapayim, to have this patience, yes, it requires not to be judgmental. And I think it's very logical, because if you're judgmental, and like we said, being judgmental brings out all your past, all the negative uh, uh, encounters that the person had in the past with that specific individual, then it will spark a fight. But on the other hand, if the person is erech hapayim, yes, and he's not judgmental, so now he doesn't have the heaviness and the emotions of the past that paralyzes his logic, paralyzes his assessment of a situation, and now he can be erech hapayim. He can be patient. He can be kind. He can see past an emotion of the moment, and through that now control the situation of a quarrel and diffuse it. That's the chidush of Shlomo HaMelech in that pasuk.
Should be non-judgmental or judgmental for good?
Well, we found that you have to be mochiach, and you have to be proactive when you do a tochacha, when you reproof, right? So, vadai, that you have to have an element of of midat of din to a certain extent, but the din should not be a din that you determine as din. It should be a din that the Torah determines as din. That is the difference. When you're judgmental because of your own criteria of what justice is, versus a tochacha, which has nothing to do with you. The Torah says A, you do B, and we're responsible for each other. I have the obligation to reprimand you. Ken? Pasuk Yud Tet. Derech, the way of the lazy, kamesuchat hadek. It's like the hedge, right? Of the thorns, like they say. The orach yesharim slula, but the path of the righteous, salul, is paved, is clean, is straight. Says the Gaon the following. We know that there's a difference between derech and orach. We spoke about it many times. Derech is wide and long. Orach is narrow, tight, and short. So it says the Gaon, you have two types of darachim. You have two types of ways, of large avenues. One of them is very smooth in the beginning, but full of traps and thorns and spikes at the end. And then you have another way, which is challenging in the beginning, difficult in the beginning, but then smoothing, and then the road is open and pleasant. So says Shlomo HaMelech, the derech of the atzel, the big way of the lazy, kimsuchat hadek. At the end, although it seems comfortable and fun and relaxed at the beginning, the end of that road is going to be very painful. However, the orach yesharim, but the little path, the narrow path of the right, and that beginning of path is very narrow, it's tight, it's complicated, it's difficult. Yes, a lot of effort in the beginning. There's tsar, there is tiredness, exhaust. At the end, it's derech aruka. Yeah, then it's a beautiful path. Then it's a paved path. That's what Chazal say. Yes, you have the short long way and the long short way. So he says the Gaon, that we have the Shlomo HaMelech is referring to 4 different midot that we've addressed in the last psukim. Look, if you look at the psukim Tet Zayin and you until you Tet, we have in pasuk Tet Zayin Tov Me'at Yirat Hashem. So we have Yirat Hashem. Then we have Ahava in pasuk Yudchet. Yes, Tov Aruchat Yarak Me'ahavat. Okay, Sham. Okay. Then we have the Ta'ava, the Ka'as. Okay. And then we have the Ta'ava, which is the Achila of the Mishor Avos, of the Shor Avus. So he says like this. The Torah tells us, "Ve'ata Israel ma Hashem shoel meimach, ki im liyir'a et Hashem Elokecha lalechet bechol derachav ulahava oto." The Torah tells us what Hashem asks from you, what is he, what is he expecting from you, to fear him and to love him. Derachav, the ways are referring to the behavior. And those are the midot. And we know that there are 2 roots to negative midot. We spoke about it many times. The one root is the anger, ka'as, and the other root is the desire, ta'ava. And from these 2 roots, everything stems from it. Okay? So Shlomo HaMelech says, Tov me'at me'irat Hashem. That's yira. Tov aruchat yeker ve'avat Shem. That's ahava. That's on the positive side, yira and ahava. On the negative side, we have ish hema, which is the ka'as, and derech hatzel, which is the tava. And he says here that why is the atzel tava? Because why is the person lazy? The person is lazy because he desires to be al menuchot, to have peace. His motivation is to be relaxed, so that he can enjoy, so that he can have pleasures. Therefore, it makes him, this desire, this ta'ava, pushes that person to become lazy. So we find, says the Gaon, yes, in those psukim, those two types of drachim. Yes, you have the derech that it starts good and ends bad, which is a ta'ava, and you have the derech that is good, yes, which is essentially the yirah, because you work out of fear, but it brings you beracha. And then you have the two polar opposite, which is the ahava on one end and the ka'as on the other. These are the four facets, two that are four, yes, in the concept of derech. Good?
When it means short, long is short in the youth, and in the long term about zaken.
I didn't understand, Mechila.
What does it mean about in the short time and in the long time he will enjoy?
Yeah, in terms of time,
Over,
you put a lot of efforts now. Down the road, you'll benefit from it.
but it's continuous effort until 120. It's not that the
Yes, but it's not the same efforts. When you build something in the beginning, it's very difficult, and after that, it's smooth. But that you put your effort, but it's not the same toiling. When you start a business, yes, in the beginning, it's very difficult. Once the business is established, that you have to put efforts, but it's not the same type of efforts. You sit, you learn. Yes, in the beginning, you don't know how to read the Gemara. You have to break your teeth to understand every word and translate. It takes you an hour just to read a few lines. Once you know the Gemara, it's not the same toiling. Pasuk Chaf. Ben Hacham Yesamach Av. A wise son makes his father happy. Uksil Adam, and a fool man, Poseimo, humiliates his mother. Ben Chacham Yisamach Av, says the Gaon, when he's talking about the son that is small, the katan. And here, look what he says. How does the Gaon and brings that out? He says, because he says, it doesn't say Chacham Yisamach Aviv. Chacham makes his father happy. Yeah, if you could say Chacham Yisamach Aviv, and then you know that he's talking about the son. The fact that it says Ben Chacham Yisamach Av, Ben refers to a small child. So a small child that shows signs of Chokhmah brings satisfaction, happiness to his father. And why does he say Av? He says because Yisamach Av, Milashon Avrech, Avrach. It's referring to the word Av is referring to the father, but to a father that Sheyoshev bebet midrasho, that sits in the Bet Midrash, that learns Torah. So when the son sees his father sitting and learning, when he's small, it makes him want to emulate his father. opens his heart to the chokhmah, since he sees what's important for his father, which is the chokhmah, and infuses in him the desire to learn more chokhmah. The simcha of the father is to see that by sitting in the Bet HaMidrash, his son picked up on it. Not just that his son is a prodigy. There's no hidush. That you have a 3 years old that start telling you Mishnayot, every father is going to be happy. Wow, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the simcha that the father has, seeing that his effort and his behavior had an impact on his son and made him a chacham. The flip side, Ksil Adam. Now we're talking about Adam. Nachon? Adam is not a child. He's not a ben. Adam is an adult. An adult is called Adam. When the adult behaves like a fool, the people around him that are hurt, that are suffering from that foolishness, they say, cursed is that mother that brought this child to the world. Or like the Gemara says, is cursed is the woman that breastfed that man, that boy. There are two different. The Gaon says, if you look in Perek Yud, Pasuk Aleph, okay, Mishlei Shlomo ben Chacham Yisamach Av, right? Ben Chacham Yisamach Av. If you remember that pasuk, yes, a wise son brings happiness to his father. Uben Ksil to get imo, but a Ksil son brings sorrow to his mother. Says the Gaon there in the beginning of Perek Yud, Shlomo HaMelech is talking about Ben Ksil, a boy. Ben is a child. That's a duller. Therefore, he brings tsa'ar, right? He brings it to the mother because the mother lives with the boy, sees the pain. She carries that anguish and that sorrow. But as the boy grows, now he lives on his own. So the mother no longer is exposed to that pain. She's very sad, but she's not being abused in every day by that pain that she witnesses by seeing the behavior of her son. Elamai, she gets cursed by far. Wherever he is, yes. Now she gets the pain because they curse the mother who brought that ben to the world. And why is she exposed to that curse? Because when the boy was a boy, yes, she focused on the sorrow and was not able to change that boy into a good into a chacham. So the sorrow, which is quite so the sorrow, the pain that a parent feels for a child essentially should be a source of motivation to double down in the effort to make sure that we educate and we change the behavior of that child. But unfortunately, some focus on the actual pain and how they deal with the pain instead of focusing on the child, right? So the pain becomes an end instead of being a means. to an end. And for that, in the future, the parent is being cursed. So the curse is for not doing your responsibility when you had the chance. So essentially, you nurtured that monster, then you have to pay for it, even if it's not, if that person doesn't live in your quarters. I want to see something. I was thinking about see something. רק שנייה. So I was trying to make a comparison, but need to think about that one. Good, and this one is good. Next pasuk. Pasuk kaf aleph. איוולת שמחה לחסר לב. Foolishness brings happiness to somebody that's senseless, that has no heart. ואיש תבונה יישר לכת. But a man that has tevuna walks a straight path. So says the Gaon like this. A chacham sometimes also fails. אין אדם אשר יחם בארץ ולא יחטא. אשר יעשה טוב ולא יחטא. There's no man on this planet that does good and doesn't sin. Everybody has their setback here or there. Okay. But the chacham, if he fails, or if he does something, an action that is evil, yes, a foolish action, right away he feels terrible, as if he's mourning. And right away he tries to change, he tries to do teshuvah, yes, and he fights back. Not so the chaser lev. The chaser lev enjoys the evelet, enjoys the folly, enjoys the nonsense. This is an important lesson that the Gaon is that Shlomo Melech is teaching us. Because when a person is insensitive to shtuyot, is insensitive to stupidities, it's a clear sign that he's chaser lev. He's missing sensitivity. He is missing awareness. He is missing touch with himself. אבל איש תבונה יישר לחת. But a wise man, every opportunity he has, he tries to straighten his path. So the tvuna, the bina, which is the lev, bina liba uba halev mevin, like the Patach Eliyahu says. Yes, the bina, the lev, is what that sensitivity, that awareness, is exactly what you need in order to create a compass, a barometer that will make you sensitive and aware whether or not you are in touch with yourself or you let go. So when a person, and on the flip side, when a person is insensitive to shtuyot, that means that he's lacking bina. He's lacking the lev.
What do you mean by insensitive?
You know, sometimes you're in a situation, okay, a foolish situation, and you know it's not right. You're uncomfortable. You're in it, but it's uncomfortable. And you have people that just enjoy it. That's the difference. You understand what I mean or not? No. We will hold here, Be'ezrat Hashem. So we just learned Pasuk Kaf Aleph, right? From Yud Chet, and we just did Kaf Aleph.
Yes.